been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night.
Welcome to the Mind Growth Mission Podcast. This is your host, David Schweit, and I'm fortunate enough to have a ton of great friends here in the Charlotte area. Today I have sitting with me somebody who I really truly respect, and that respect didn't begin when we were working together. It began on the basketball court, so I can't wait to talk some about sports and athletics and what that means to both of us. But also, this dude's just an amazingly tough worker, hard worker. He's accomplished a ton. He's the co-founder of Motivation Mortgage, which is a growing company here out of Charlotte. Tyler Bullock, what's up, man? Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. You know, it's my first podcast ever, so it's something new for me.
Many more to come for you, man. I know you're on your way, and I just want to get into some of that early life. We talked about sports, but what was that early childhood life for Tyler Bullock, and who is Tyler Bullock?
Yeah, man. I grew up here locally in Charlotte, Mint Hill. Lucky enough to have both parents with me, and they were funny. They were like complete opposites of each other. So it was cool to have somebody that worked really hard. My mom business oriented, work hard. My dad was more like the fun dad. Did some construction, so a little bit on the rougher side. So it was cool, man. I got to learn some hands-on stuff from my dad, and then some business stuff from my mom, and then I had a sister who was 8 years older than me, and learned all I was cool because of her, all the music. Right. I got to listen to the Chili Peppers Sublime when I was way too young to be listening to this
the role
stuff.
model you looked up to.
Yeah.
We were saying that before we started airing this. Same with my brother. He's 13 years older, so somebody I always looked up to. And your sister, older than you, same thing here. And with the family dynamic, I love that you mentioned that, man. Like I said, I met you on the basketball court. This dude's super intense. I was like, is this dude going to be any good? And then we get on the court, I'm like, dang, this dude is actually beast moding it and talking junk and throwing elbows and everything else. So he ain't scared of nothing. And I love that. It just helps you elevate your game when you got somebody you're playing against or with like that. So that's one thing I appreciate about you. But you said the business acumen from the mom. Where'd you get into sports? And I look at you as a more independent guy. So tell me early childhood, some of that too.
Yeah, so I grew up obviously much younger than my sister. Like I said, she was big time into softball. She even did cheerleading, dance. She was super active. So my family's always been big into sports. All my cousins played sports. So it's kind of just, if you're not playing sports, what are you doing in our family? So growing up, I played baseball, basketball, and football from as early as you're allowed to. Baseball at t-ball, and then football at 7 years old. Basketball, I forgot how old you can start playing, but it was really just I love sports for a couple of reasons, right? I'm competitive, but also that's when you got to spend your time with your friends. Yeah. Right, so school, you go to school, you get to see them, but then the special time with your friends is playing sports, and obviously being super competitive and hanging out with more competitive people and trying to make the A team, so to call it. I tried to make the All-Stars in baseball. I tried to make All-Stars in basketball. Just everything you could do, you just wanted to be the best at because it allowed you to keep playing. When baseball was done in the spring, you wanted to play in that summer league so you could travel and go hang out with your friends. So it really just developed from there. Obviously watching my sister play, and she was, like I said, super competitive too. So I think I picked up a lot of stuff there, and really just wanted to, started just want to hang out with my friends and beat them though, and be better than them. So
I love the fact you bring that up though, man, because that's one thing I noticed about you early on is how you keep a solid team around you, good people around you, people respect you, And genuinely, you're just an awesome dude and easy to talk to, easy to hang out with, make me feel very welcome and supported and all that, like the way you come across. And that's very important. So,
Thanks, man.
I don't know if you attribute a lot of that to like family life or sports, but that's one thing instantly too that I notice over the time working with you. I'm like, this dude's something special, and then we'll get to you starting being the co-founder of the new company and how those relationships kind of tied in. But still going back, did I see that you played maybe rugby too, or?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
I did.
We might not be there yet in the storyline, but yeah. So right now we got what, baseball, football.
Basketball at a young age,
obviously.
In high school, I only played. I wasn't good enough to play. Once you make it to high school, it's a little bit more competitive in every sport.
Well, where'd you go?
I went to Butler High School here in Charlotte.
Were they pretty good?
Yeah, we won state championship my senior year.
Basketball?
No, football.
Well, I know football.
Basketball, we were pretty good. We had some really good guards. Some people ended up playing some decent college basketball, but. I was, like I said, they were way better than me.
For those of you listening not from Charlotte, it's an extreme talent pool, I'd say. So, any high school you go to out here, chances are you got some top athletes that are going to get D1 scholarships. So, that's something that's pretty special about growing up here. I grew up in like the Winston-Salem area, so we had a lot of that too. Chris Paul and Rayshon Terry and some other athletes that ended up becoming big, but. The Charlotte area, I mean, there's a much larger list, right? But let me ask you this, man. So what did you learn about that early on sports career, and what did that do to translate to work?
Yeah, like tying it back into the team aspect, I went to Butler High School where we were ranked third in the nation in football. I was lucky enough to get playing time. Like I was a captain my senior year, but
what positions?
I played linebacker and safety, mainly linebacker. But
beast mode.
I was, I'm not your most athletic, and you learn from a team sport. Like you get this confidence, not because of you, is like everybody around you that is also talented gives you enough confidence to go make plays. Like. For instance, like a dude across from me ended up playing at Auburn University, like SEC football. Yeah. He played outside linebacker. I played outside linebacker.
Wow.
They're not going to run at him. They're going to run at me. So they're scared of them. So, like, you realize, like, I became a playmaker because people were scared of others, right? So, like, to me, it was kind of funny. You realize, like, the team is what made me good. It wasn't me being like this outstanding player. And so like I bring that into business simply because if you don't have a great team around you, you're gonna lose. Yeah. You have to bring people into the work industry, like, in whatever you're doing in work, you have to build a team around you that's gonna support you, because if I was on an average football team, I would have been a standout maybe, but I don't think I would have had the same stats that I had because of the team around me. Like when you got to worry about blocking 10 other dudes that are also very good, you can't just focus on one person. Exactly. So to me, like when you bring it into the work world, when you put a team around you, like I don't have to worry about certain things because I know they're going to get done. Yeah. So that allows me to do the things that I'm good at. So you bring in players that have like different strengths, and that way you can focus on what you're good at, and then you can trust that the other stuff that you're not good at is also getting taken care of. Yeah. And that's kind of how I look at it. It ties in very well with sports. I think team sports and then starting a company, growing a company is very similar. Like you got to fill in those gaps where you can't do everything. So.
Yeah. What about, because that's a great point, what about relationships and trust? Because when you're thinking about like a team sport and counting on people, you got to think about the reliability and what they're doing when you're not looking and all that. And obviously a lot of that has to do with trust and relationship building and respect there. Because I understand, like you can see that somebody's skilled, let's bring them over, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be the best behind the scenes, work ethic always, that kind of thing. So what do you do to help build the relationships up and build the trust factor?
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree. Trust is not something that you're given, it's something that's earned.
Yeah. There we go.
That takes time, right? Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do. You can go in there and promise everything in the world, right? And luckily, like when you surround yourself with good people, the people that you want to be around will back up what they say. And so you can slowly say, like, I'm trusting this person because they're doing it. If it's only a couple weeks that they're doing what they told you to do, the ones that want to be successful are going to do the things they say they're going to do. And like at the beginning, you always have to like micromanage a little bit. Like, hey, did you do that? Can you give me an update on that? And then they're either gonna be like, oh yeah, I didn't, and then you got to continue to do that. Or like, Tyler, I got this. Like, trust me, I'm getting it done. I'll give you an update when it's ready. Like, those are the type of responses that you want, because that means that those people are confident. And that, like I said, trust it takes time. You can't just go work with somebody and trust them instantly. If you do, you could get hurt, right? Yeah. Especially in business. But I think just collaboration in general, communication is what builds trust, because over time you don't have to communicate as much, but at the beginning you got to constantly follow up and then make sure everybody's doing what they told them that they were going to do. So
and I think that brings up a good point too, is because leading by example sometimes is super important, right? You have to show people how to do it, not only just one time, oftentimes is multiple times. So that does take time, and so with that time you are earning the trust, right? You are putting it in, so you're getting the output later, right? So that is key.
Earning trust and then trusting somebody else is earning trust is probably more important than being able to trust somebody else. You want others to trust you. So that's a good point.
Yeah, but you have to give off that energy to be a trusting person to receive it as well. But very good point. They do kind of tie into each other that way. But let's go there, man. So obviously you were crushing it with sports. How big were you actually in high school?
In high school, 5'10", 170. Like very small.
Playing linebacker.
Yeah.
Wow.
For one of the top teams in the nation. So
won a championship.
Yeah. So I was fast. Luckily, that helped me out. But like I said, I wasn't. They weren't scared of me. They weren't. Nobody was scared of me.
So let me ask you this, man. I always saw you as like an independent individual as well. There's certain people that can take things and just do them, like whatever it is, they can do it on their own, whether it's make a big purchase or go out there and figure something out on their own, or do some work around the house to just figure it out, whatever. I always saw you as that type, to be very independent.
Right.
Where does that come from, do you think?
Definitely comes more from my mom. She's very like strong-minded and strong-willed, so she instilled that in me. But I am the type of person that like I think I can do anything. And if I
ultimate confidence guy is this guy.
I bought a boat when I was younger, and my friends were with me, and we made a joke, but we named my boat False Confidence. So it's like, you got to believe that you can do anything, and if you can't do it, there's a way to figure it out. Especially in this day and age, like I can log on to YouTube and figure out pretty much anything.
Absolutely.
So I think just having the confidence to do certain things, even though you don't have anybody that's ever done it around you or anybody to show you, like you can, if you want to, you can go out and learn. Exactly. And I think that's where my confidence comes from, is like, I don't have to know it now, but I can figure it out on the way. And as long as you're willing to put in the work, you can do whatever. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Yeah, I was wondering if that confidence from you came from like sports and your athletic ability and how hard you go, but it sounds like it may stem from your mom and some of the stuff she instilled. And is that just how she is, like her charisma and her presence and the way she goes about things, maybe strategically? Or what do you think rubbed off there?
Yeah, she just like, having two kids that were constantly traveling. My mom's working, my dad's working. They made it work. So like if my sister had a softball game in Georgia, we're going, right? The whole family's going. Like she's going to figure out the logistics behind it. And if I was in Boy Scouts, I'm an Eagle Scout actually. And so if I had a Boy Scout meeting, that Saturday, my sister played on Thursday, we're getting back from our Boy Scout meeting. So my mom just had this like, if it can happen, we're getting it done kind of mentality. And like, she still has that to this day. She still works, she takes care of, my grandmother's house, and she has a house down at the beach as well. And like, she's constantly on the move. And I think that's what, I just watch her and I'm like, how do you get all this done? Right. She doesn't sleep a lot. She does so much stuff. And so I've always admired that. And so I'm like, if she can do it, like she's a lot older than me. I'm like young. I should have more energy. You know what I'm saying? I could make these things happen. Yeah. So I definitely get it from that for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
nah, but I think a lot of skills and characteristics are passed down like that too. But you brought up a good point too. It's like you're watching, you're admiring. You're like, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, it's a figuring out process. And a lot of our great leaders that we worked with in our careers, same thing. Like you see them do it, they step up there, bring it every day. I mean, it's not easy. You know, sometimes you do have to, quote unquote, fake it till you make it. I hate using that quote, but honestly, you got to bring that energy level up to make your presence felt, right? To make a difference, to make an impact. You do have to do that more consistently than the rest of the pack if you want to stand out, right? And I think sports teaches you a lot of that because there's practices where you're hurting, you're sore, and you're still going to have to do it. Otherwise, you're running sprints.
Yeah.
You know, you're running laps or whatever they make you do, extra push-ups, whatever. So you got to just force yourself to do it. So it's a mental game there. So I was thinking that you were going to come up here and say it was a lot through sports, but it seems like a lot through family, which is an awesome.
Yeah, I think that rubs off into sports, and then like I've been lucky enough, you know, not only in sports but to be a leader, like to be a captain of the team, and then you know that's voted by your peers, and so that's kind of like the most important thing.
Yeah.
You get voted to be a captain of the team, and then it's not because you're trying to. You just like, that's who I am. I'm going to work hard, and if you're slacking, I'm going to bring you up with me, and if I'm slacking, I hope you bring me up, and you let people know those things. And you know, I think once you get thrown into a leadership position, you're stuck being a leader. Like,
it's your identity,
right? Yeah,
and
people are always looking up to you, so you gotta perform at that level. So I think it's lucky, especially in business. You know, I told my manager, Matt, back in the day, I said, I don't want to be in sales forever, right? I want to be leader. I want to help people. I want to do all of that. And at 24 years old, I was in charge of 7 people. They were older than me, some younger than me, but at that point, you got to perform. And like you said, you can't slack off those days that it's tough. You got to go in, put a smile on, and make sure people are getting stuff done, and being that go-to guy, bringing the energy and making sure things are still operating, no matter how you feel.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. That's a good point. At 24, you're already in that leadership role from a business standpoint, right? And, you know, I believe in truly like hitting the ground running, put yourself out there, throw yourself to the wolves, as we used to put it, right?
Right.
But like for you, man, I just feel like you get things and can figure it out. Did you end up finishing college?
Yeah, so I went to Charleston Southern. Thought I was going to play football. that didn't work out. So I transferred, went to UNCW.
Right.
When that was a blast, man. Living at the beach in college, just can't beat it. But I ended up graduating. I did business development, operations business development, and entrepreneurship were actually my 2 business degrees that I got. So it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Charleston Southern didn't work out the way it was planned,
Right.
I guess. And then you end up going to UNC Wilmington, which if those of you that are listening that don't live in the Carolinas, Wilmington's where Wrightsville Beach is, and other beaches are right near it. So, of course, it'd be an appealing place to go to school at that age. It's such a good time, and not to mention the athletics are good there.
Yeah, great basketball, great soccer team. So.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I can say though, man, throwing it back, I forget how much younger you are than me, but we're pretty much in the same boat, I guess. But when you transition to different places like that, leader of a football team, winning a state championship, going to a school, it not working out, so to speak, and then transferring to another school, did you ever have any of those moments of feeling like stuck or I have to start over, or any stress or worry at that time, or was it just more excitement?
Definitely, like you lose your identity. You go from being someone who's known as a football player, right, to nobody. Like they don't care what you did in high school. You're in college now, right? Like they don't care about your past. You got to prove your status moving forward.
Everybody starts fresh. Starts new in college. Yeah.
So that's like one of those things where I did struggle for a little bit. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, do I really want to be in school? Do I want to go get a job? So you just kind of have to like recalibrate your life. And, you know, I stopped going to class my freshman year, and I called my mom. I was like, I think I'm just going to like transfer. So I'm not going to do much here. And then she's like, Tyler, you know you have to get good grades to transfer, right? And I was like, oh. So then I go back to class, and I'm like, all right, well, now I had some bad grades first semester, and I got straight A's second semester because I was like, I got to get out of here.
Of course you did.
Yeah, so I always laugh at that moment because, I was young and not the smartest, and I thought just, I could just transfer, but that wasn't the case. And then
That's funny. That's a big turning point that sticks with you, though. It just proves that you can do it. Right. Whatever you set your mind to, that's just another one of those things, like tapping into it.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Were there any other moments like that where maybe you were counted out, or maybe there was something that like really stuck with you early on that made an impact in your life, or something that moved you in a way to propel you forward for later years? Was it because you mentioned like Eagle Scout, for example? I think that's awesome that you were part of that. What did that teach you? Maybe we'll start there.
Man, it was so fun. Going camping and just being outdoors, like that's something I just enjoy doing. And then you get to high school, and it's not the coolest thing in the world to be in Boy Scouts. So I kind of quit for a little bit. I was playing football. That was like my main goal, but I was lucky. One of my good friends that was also Eagle Scout with me, his dad was one of the scout leaders, and he said, Tyler, like you're so close to getting your Eagle Scout. Like just come back, put in like a year worth of work, and you're done. Maybe 2 years worth of work, you're done. And I was 16, and that was something really cool because I had probably been out for 2 or 3 years. But I did a lot when I was young, so I was like pretty close. And then he called me and he's like, you can still do this. Like, and I worked like crazy. And he like took me under his wing and was like, you're going to come do this stuff with us. And, my mom and dad helped as well. But like, he pushed me to the end, and like you have to get it before you turn 18. So I got it like 12 days before my 18th birthday. Like it was like on the time limit. So looking back, like I didn't think I was cool there in high school, but looking back, I'm like super proud of that because it's hard. It's a lot of work, and it's something you got to stick with, and it just proves like if you're willing to put in the work, you get the reward. And like not a lot of people get their Eagle Scout, not as much as it used to be probably. And I had 2 really good buddies that I met in Boy Scouts that like did it with me, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So 2 things stuck with me there. One of them is that somebody showed that belief in you, and then you put your mind to it, and they were there for you to kind of push you forward and push you along. And I think a lot of us have those like mentors or people that come into our life to kind of push us in different areas to get us that one step closer to our goals, or just get us growing or out of our comfort zone, right? So you have somebody like that. The second thing is what you mentioned there about like high school and not being cool. The scrutiny we take in high school, man. Everybody's a hater,
right?
Everybody's clicking up, everybody's hating on you, and you got to get over these things. And I think when you go to college, you realize that none of that crap mattered. All the stuff you were made fun of for, or all the stuff that you thought wasn't cool, like that stuff doesn't matter. You get to college, and you're actually like going to stand out the more extracurriculars you do, the more things that you do, the more things you're involved with, and the more companies and people are going to think that you're valuable because of these things, right? And it's such a misconstrued thing, that early childhood with like kids that may not be going anywhere in life that you're around. You're forced to be around them, And then you got the others that like you see that they're meant to be on a certain path. So you kind of got to choose or adopt one of the ways or mold between both, right? And I know I've had people that were like a little wild and ended up going the wrong way.
Right.
But I have a ton more that went the right way and did the right things and did them the right way. So did you have any of those circumstances where you were getting in trouble or any close calls with anything?
I mean, definitely. Like high school it's a bunch of kids that come from different backgrounds, all in the same place, and you're being introduced to new things all the time, and you got some friends that you really care about that end up taking the wrong path, and you kind of have to distance yourself from those people, and it sucks. But at the end of the day, like if you can keep your focus and not care what's cool in the moment, and like if I could give any advice to any young kid, it's like just be yourself. I know that's super cliche, but you do what you want to do, and like make sure that you're like sticking to your morals. Make sure that like what you're doing is what you want to do. All right, don't fall into peer pressure and stuff. But I really think like I lost some friends in high school that were going the wrong path. But I look back and I'm like, if I would have tried to stick with them or hung out with them, I would have potentially done the same thing. So like, I think that's where like parenting and all that comes into play as well. Where like if you have good morals and you come from a good background and you know you have somebody in your corner that's willing to like stand up and fight for you, like make sure you make those people happy. And that's where like especially that middle school, high school age, you start to break apart. And it's a good thing. Like you're gonna lose some friends. It's gonna be tough, but at the end of the day, I think that's where you're making the right decision. If you feel the pain, it's usually probably a good thing. You know.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and one thing that sticks with me there too, man, is like another level, another devil. You know, you're always going to have different challenges that arise or different influences that come up, and then let's say you're progressing through things. Yeah, you'll notice that you want to be around those that are going to push you to get to that next level, the next stage, and then maybe some relationships do drop off. Right. So, what are some things that helped you out and continues to maybe help you out when it comes to like building relationships, and we'll get to your business ownership and all that too, because I think that's key. But now we're at like the early stages, leaving college, you're going into business now,
right?
And did you start off right away in mortgages?
Yeah, first job.
And did you get that through like a relationship you had with somebody, or what happened there?
No, I have a funny story. So I'm over here looking for jobs. I take like 2 months off after college. I did a little bit of traveling, went to Hawaii as like a graduation present. Did some stuff. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I took entrepreneurship, and that's you create your own business. So I didn't know what to do, and I was like, I've always wanted to make some money. So I take a few sales roles. I was like, I think I can do sales. So I take a few interviews for sales. Get to this company. It's a mortgage company. Interview, and the guy's like, if you don't make X number of dollars, then you're not good at this. And I was like, really? I was like, that's like what the average person makes? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, sign me up. Where do I sign? And he was like, he starts laughing at me. He was like, you really want to do it? I was like, yeah. He goes, all right, we'll hire you, like right on the spot. Obviously it's 100% commission. You're in sales, like it's no cost to them. So they're like, yeah, if this kid thinks he can do it, like let's get him here. And so I joined mortgages and didn't know anything, man. And you're 22 years old and you're talking to people that have bought and sold 5-10 houses. You're like, they're smarter than you, and you have to like overcome those challenges. So, but yeah, that's how I got in the mortgage industry. Just literally applied to some sales roles, and he told me a dollar amount, and I said, if that's the normal income, like sign me up. And it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is a motivating factor in that industry. When I worked there, I was like, what? You can make this, and how quickly, and all that? And I'm like, and then we mapped out our goals, right? We did like the 1 year, 2 year goals. And then we wrote items and material things we wanted, and pay we wanted, and relationships we wanted. And it's crazy how like looking at those goals, and in a career like that, especially with sales, this is like the most tangible way to actually use an example of it. But like I started to knock off these goals by checking in every so often to see where we're at and evaluating that. And then next thing I know, that 1 year plan came to fruition, that 2 year plan came to fruition. So very thankful for the mortgage industry. Right. I know you are as well. So you stuck with it. And then we worked together at one point. So tell me the timeline between where you're at starting out, how you applied and saw that there was that money potential, to like when we stepped in together to work together. What's the gap look like there?
Yeah, so I worked for a company, and I had two good managers, like really good. They kind of took me under their wing. I think they saw potential. I have a funny story as well. Like I go to this job, and they're assigning me a mentor, right? Because when you set goals, a lot of salespeople have mentors and show them how to do everything. Well, he assigns me to this one guy, and I just look at my boss, and I was like, is he good? And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, should I listen to him? Should I like actually be like him? And he goes, you want somebody that's good? And I was like, yeah, I want somebody that's good. So he makes my mentor the number one sales girl in the company, and she is a machine, dude. So like I just got to learn behind her. she has like one of my favorite quotes ever. She used to have it in her email signature. It was "Have fun, be different, create value." So that's always stuck with me. But I actually just learned behind her and my manager, and I was like, dude, I'm so young, and this girl is a machine, and I'm talking about like 9 hours a day on the phone
Who
consistently.
are we talking about?
It's a girl named Carol Whitman.
I figured you were talking about her, and she's pretty much famous in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
I would say she's a beast.
She's a
Everybody
superstar.
knows stories of her. She's like a legend that's still going.
Yeah,
So-
she's a superstar, and that was my mentor, and it was all because, me being cocky, young, and be like, I'm not listening to that guy if he's not the best. Like, who's the best, So,
Yeah, we won't say any names on that one, but Kara's been super consistent, and everybody I know that's in the mortgage industry that had the fortunate time to work with her or whatever all has good things to say. But is it that work ethic? Like, what is it that really stood out about the way she attacked?
Her attitude, her work ethic. Work ethic was like the number one thing you see. But then her attitude, it's like she was always in a good mood. And like when you do as much volume as her, there's going to be problems, right?
On
some
sales,
files.
how do you do that?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's just like you watch and you just learn. And, she's awesome, man. She like helped me so much. Like when I would be going down the wrong like mindset, she'd be like, Tyler, like it's okay. Like here's what you need to do. Here's how you fix it. Like just you can't pout, basically, So she was always very encouraging. And then it was funny. I was like lucky enough to be promoted to like a team lead there, and me trying to like talk to her as a manager, it was hilarious. I was like, Kara, just keep doing what you're doing.
I'll lay off you.
Because she taught me more than I would ever be able to teach her. But it was definitely, man, I had a blast at my first company. They taught me so much, had great people around me. Like you mentioned, the goal setting, just like the personal development, reading books, they just changed who I was, and they put a different outlook on life. And like, luckily, when you're around like high quality salespeople, I think salespeople have one of the the toughest skin, and I think they have good mindsets because they get beat up all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so when you're getting beat up like that, you gotta have a good attitude. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Like I said, started managing some people. It was fun. That was like the most challenge. I think I learned more managing because as manager, you only deal with problems, right? You don't deal with the good stuff. The problems come to you. You have to figure out how to solve them. And I didn't have a ton of experience, but instead of only dealing with my problems for a few years, I got to deal with 20 people's problems for a few years. So like you learn so much, and I think that's what gave me the confidence to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and you hit the ground running at such an early age when you think about like how people get started, right? I think it was like 4 or 5 years in my sales role before I even thought about like a manager position was even possible or whatever. So
Right.
for you to ramp up that quickly is definitely going to teach you a lot and put you out of your comfort zone quick and propel you forward even quicker. So that's awesome, man. But like, I didn't realize that about Kara. That's funny.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's Drew Fisher and some others that are just
There's some
legends
studs there,
and OGs, and we were fortunate enough to work with some great people when we worked together. But this man had a level higher even with some of these people that have been in the industry for so long and just been steadily doing it. And I think the mortgage industry teaches you so many lessons and you learn so much. But I love what you brought up about like the personal development piece. That's something I never got because I was working like 10 years in sales before working in mortgages, at least 10 years. And I was like, yo, where were these managers that actually invested in you? The time, the value, the personal development, the personal life pieces, like what we had, It was something that carries over no matter the organization, no matter the position, no matter what company you're working for or what stage you are in life. It's things that will stick with me forever, and it's something that I think changed the trajectory of my life as well. And I'm sure with you being involved with that at an early age, it was something that maybe you haven't taken that time to reflect, or maybe you do, but it's just it's something at that point in my life. I was in my early 30s. And I'm like, holy crap, this is how it's like really supposed to be,
I was, like you said, incredibly lucky. I was working for great managers that taught me that. Like, we were in a system that was like, we're going to work these kids hard. So we got to like earn their trust, right? And we got to help them grow. So, they knew what they were doing. It was the perfect game plan for like, especially younger people coming into a sales role, because it is hard, and you got to keep your mindset right. And so we had book clubs. I mean, we had like individual one-on-ones where it's not even about work. It's about like personal finance and like, here's how you invest. And they taught you so much outside of just like mortgage that has always stuck with me. And I think at sometimes I do take it for granted, because then you know, like you said, it took you 10 years to get someone that did that for you, but for me it was like right out of college. So and then I've had the opportunity to help people and goal set with them and teach them some similar things, and that's really where you feel good, because it's like, man, I'm hopefully helping these people long term, not even if they work for me or not. I'm hoping they keep some of the things that I've taught them and that I've been taught and passed it along. So I think that's really rewarding, and I think that's why a lot of the managers that we had were so good, because you know, work's work, right? Like if you can impact somebody's life long term, I think that's where people get real joy, especially when you're dealing with an industry like ours where it's so many ups and downs, that like you got to have something that like your why, like everybody says, like you got to have your why. And I think some people just like wanted to help others truthfully. So it's cool. It's cool.
Dang, man, I love that. I love that response, man. I was just falling in love with that, thinking about it so much, because it does stick with me. I mean, to this day, like I think about it almost every day, just like it might be just in the back of my mind, but I feel like it's something that is constantly present with me, because like I realize what's out there and the difference and the impact you can make. And it can be the most subtle thing really too, you know, like you said earlier, just taking the time and earning people's trust. But when you actually sit down with somebody, check in with them, follow up,
right,
and be a man of your word, stick to your commitments, and just allow them to speak it out, you hear them out, like that goes a long way, just that alone.
Yeah, you got to experience that as well. You were a team lead manager at our last company together, and I'm sure you felt the same like joy, like teaching people stuff.
Oh
so.
Man, I love it. I love it.
Doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing that I'm reading in all these books, the common thread that I'm reading is that when you have that like service mindset, the servant leadership mindset, where you're flipping the script, it's not about me and my ego, it's more about like, how am I serving others, how am I helping others? That's when the success levels rise.
Right.
And I see that with buddies I've interviewed here and people that I've interviewed through this, or people that I've worked with in the past, is like the more and more they give, the more success seems to come their way.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking about my buddy who's a coach, right? A basketball coach for Florida Atlantic, and the way he was talking and that servant mindset. And then, you know, you here today as a co-founder of a mortgage company and being in a leadership role. My buddy I interviewed yesterday, Abe Albaba, he's a personal trainer type, but he's in neuroscience, but constantly he has to figure out ways to help people out in that realm, right? And it's that servant mindset, that servant leadership that carries everything forward, right? And that's where I see people take it up. But let me ask you this, man. So you mentioned some of the mentors, you mentioned some of the leaders that have impacted you. What are some maybe outside sources as well, other than what we talked about, that maybe on your come up or on your rise have really helped you out when it maybe comes to relationships, or good or bad?
Yeah, so I one thing I value more than most things is being around good people, being around people that are hungry, because it doesn't matter what industry they're in, you know, what they're doing, whether it's, you know, work or sports or like anything. People that work hard, you just want to learn from them. You want to see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I want to take it back a second to what we were just kind of talking about, being selfless. And like one thing I've learned over the years is there's a term that people hate, selfishness, right? The great people, I want everybody to hear this. The great people are always selfish first, right? You got to be selfish because you have to get yourself to a point that you can be selfless. Mm-hmm. And so like when you start off, every day is about you working hard, learning, ignoring other people, putting in the hours, making it work. And the faster you can do that, the faster you can help other people. And I think that's what I was lucky enough to learn at a young age, is like, put in the work now, be selfish about what you want, not selfish in a negative way, but selfish about like, if I can get to this level, that's when I can start helping other people. Mm-hmm. So I do want to bring that up. I think, you know, selfishness gets a bad rap. And I think that in order to become like, you know, these billionaires that are donating to charity, they didn't just give to charity from day one, right? They had to build companies and get huge first, right? And then they can start helping people. So I look at it even in the smallest way, like if you're not spending the 10 hours in the gym, not hanging out with your friends or whatever, and you're a basketball player like Kobe Bryant, right? Like he wasn't able to like pass off his talents and like his mindset to other people until he was that person. So I just always like to bring that up anytime we're talking about being selfless, because I think in reality you have to be selfish first.
Yeah, and there's stages, right? You got to invest in yourself a ton before you can get the confidence or get to the level where you're credible enough to give that off, right? So that's super key, and that's a great point, man. I've thought about that before, how closely similar those words are.
They are.
Selfless, right? The 2-syllable S words there. And they do go hand in hand, man. That's an awesome point. Yeah. That is literally something I've thought about before.
Yeah, it's to me.
I thought deep about.
That's
funny.
I actually did a wake up on it one time, and I was like, because I'm like, what makes the people that are great different, right? And it's the time that they put in and pour into their craft, whatever it is, that they completely ignore everybody else, and you might go missing for a year or two. You know what I'm saying? And then they come out on the other side, and you're like, man, this guy's put in some work, and like he's not out there like doing what everybody else is doing. He's like trying to work, but
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you brought up like outside sources, man. We briefly talked about this earlier, but the mortgage world's been tough for everybody. A lot of layoffs, a lot of rates are high. But what I've been recently doing, and it's been so helpful, is just go and network with other people. I'm working with 2 of my buddies that started a company recently, and we just had coffee, and we just do like a brainstorming thing. It doesn't have to be specifically about either industry, but it's like, what are you doing? Can you help me? Can I help you? And just getting that energy out there to like pick you up out of whatever funk you may be in, or like just being around people that have different experiences, it brings stuff together. Like sometimes in our world, and even in your world, you get the same people that you talk to, right? Then you kind of just run dry on ideas. Everybody's worked together in the past or done things in the same industry in the past, but like you can learn so much from people that don't do what you do. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
And I
agree. That's why I do this podcast.
Yeah,
bro.
dude,
learn from everybody.
You learn so much stuff, and like that's something that just re-energized me recently. I've met with a couple buddies, and we're like brainstorming ideas, and I'm like, what? Like I would never thought of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's something that I encourage people to do, is like get out of your little circle, meet people, man, because they're gonna help you. If you're willing to help them, it's always bring value, right? Like you want to be bringing value. You don't want to always be asking. But if you're giving and they're giving and everything's a team, even though you're not on the same team necessarily, like you're gonna learn so much.
I love that. And that stays true, and that brings up a point. Couple episodes ago that I released with my buddy Aaron Kaufman. That's what he's doing, and he wants to start something where he's getting different business affiliations together, and do like a coffee or something, and just like how can we help each other, and bounce ideas and things like that. So I'll have to link y'all up.
Definitely, I love that.
But that's part of this podcast too, is to obviously to help others out there, like build the confidence in themselves, know they can do different things and take the risk. But it's also just a chance to network, bro.
Right.
Like I really want to learn more about people, who they are, what they're about, what makes them tick, what drives them, how can I relate to this person, what can I learn from this person, and how can I network to maybe have people that I wouldn't even have imagined to be on this podcast. Like how can I get them on, or how can I really just be around those individuals where they each have something to offer and I can bring them together. So one of my goals is to bring people that I have on here together somehow at some point or in different ways. So there's one opportunity there I'm seeing right away. And last night, it's funny because I interviewed one of my buddies that's in sciences and stuff. Yeah. And I got another buddy that I interviewed that's in the sciences. And they went to college. We all went to college together, but they haven't chatted in a while. So I shot them a text last night.
Group chat them,
and linked them back up, So it's just amazing, man. Like that's what I want to build. It's like that strong network for people. And as now a business owner, obviously you have to excel in that as well. So tell me, you're crushing it in the mortgage world. You're a mortgage professional, senior sales. And then something happens where it's like, shoot, man, I'm the type of guy that's independent. I can do my own thing. I can make it successful. I've always been a leader type. So how do you spin it off and be a co-founder of another company? Tell me that story.
Great question, man. We like the last company that we were at. I was lucky. I had some people reach out to me, ask me to join the team, and it was a very small team at the time, and I was almost instantly put into like a leadership role because you had to be with essentially a startup. We built a company with like a lot of people's help, but we built a company from like 10 people to like 300 people. What seemed like overnight during COVID. It was insane. You were part of it. You felt the challenges. You felt the changes, the challenges, everything. It was insane, and I really I appreciated that so much because I learned what to do, what not to do, how to do it. You got to see like the back end side of mortgages that I was always like hidden from just being in sales. I got to help make some of those decisions. And so, it gets to a point where like I did it once. Obviously I had a lot of help, but like I did it once. I felt like, I can do this again, and I'm hard-headed, like I'm hard-headed. Like I want to make the decisions. Like I don't want it to be as corporate. I want it to be, I think we got too big too fast. I want it to be more of a slow growth, and so now that I decided to start my own company, I'm happy because I learned so many things, but now I can do the things how I want to do it and make the decisions. I have partners, but like make the decisions essentially how I wanted to in the past that I was not able to, or, some stuff I did, some stuff I didn't. But that is really what triggered me to like do my own thing. Cause it's when you're leaving a company that, everybody's getting paid well, it was great rates, everything was going perfect. And then you hit a couple of little operational issues, and I was like, man, I think I can do this, maybe a little bit smaller, but like keep the fun, less corporate, and keep my employees happy, and then, make sure things get done efficiently. And so that's kind of what sparked it. And so I took a leap of faith, man, and it's been fun. It's been hard, but it's been fun. And you're doing stuff you never thought you would do, man.
Yeah,
like I'm marketing, I'm creating logos, and it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
I do 50% of my time is actually building the company, and the other 50% is like selling.
Right.
So it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
Yeah. And who are the other founders that you're working with? Because I think I teamed up with them as well.
Yeah. So people you worked with in the past as well, Carl Thewis and Joe Guerin.
Love those guys, by the way. Shout out.
Yeah, great guys. We officially got our license to sell in November of 21, so we're coming up on 2 years like fully functioning. And man, have we had like the craziest mortgage market in the world. So
yeah,
it's literally one of the hardest times in history, and there's a lot of downs, and there's not as many ups right now, but like I value that so much because I think like at our last company where we made a lot of mistakes is because we were going so fast. Mm-hmm. You just had to keep up with the business, right? There's a lot less business right now, so I think we're growing the company smarter, slower. We're able to make some mistakes, and it doesn't hurt as much. We've changed like systems, and we've changed like the way we market and the operations side multiple times to try to dial it in. So I think like when business does pick up, we're going to be plug and play. We're not going to be like figuring it out on the fly, which,
right.
It's pros and cons because you'd love to have more business. But at the end of the day, like getting your systems in place and making it smooth as you continually grow is just as important. So you don't, lose clients or get bad reputation and things like that. So
exactly. Yeah, it's so key in the business, guys, is that reputation. The reviews we live off of. We need those good reviews. Give us those good reviews. So we were begging for those. I remember that. And, it brings a lot of humility out of you when you have to stoop to different levels to do things, right? And you really have to dig deep, especially on a trying time like now. When I was in the industry, it was more of a come-up time. And you've been growing a business during more of a decline time. Yeah. So, seeing it from that perspective and what I've heard from you and Clay and others, I know it's tough, but I know it's like the learning stages that are going to help you when things turn around.
Right.
It'll help you even more.
I'm glad you brought
those
up Clay.
challenges are great.
Like we both know a few mortgage company owners. And so that's one thing I didn't mention, but like I got a couple people like Brad and Fern and Clay that I've had the luxury of like calling during these times and like, what are you guys doing different? Like we also brainstorm, and even though we're quote unquote competitors, people are helpful, man. It's everybody's in the same boat, so like we're trying to help each other as much as possible. And that's
not to mention they work together.
Yeah, we all worked together in the past.
I know
so.
Fernando from college. Haven't had an opportunity to interview him yet. I had a Brad on and Clay on, so I am trying to take over the mortgage world in the podcast space as well. But no, all these guys are amazing. You
They're
can
great
learn a lot
guys
from all of them, and the a couple of the common things with all these guys is work ethic. I know how hard they work. Fun. I know how much fun they like to have, so that helps the culture and everything else. But it's also their willingness to get out of their comfort zone and learn and grow, and that's super key. And I think with anybody who wants to go out and start a business, you really have to be willing to put yourself in some uncomfortable positions and
you gotta
situations.
fall on your face for sure.
And you got to just understand that you're gonna fail. There's gonna be times where you fail. There's gonna be times where things don't work out, and that's okay, because every time you can learn from it.
Right.
And I think you've seen that quite a bit just throughout your career, and especially now as a business partner and owner. But tell me, man, another thing I want to know. We mentioned Clay, we mentioned Brad, we mentioned Fern. I mentioned some of the things that kind of tie all you guys together, and even with Joe and Carl. I see Carl getting out of his comfort zone. Good job on the
social media
post. Yeah, he's crushing it. It's our 6'6" friend that's in mortgages that's partner with him, and he's just the nicest guy ever.
Great content.
From Belgium, right?
Yeah, Belgium.
And just one of the coolest dudes ever. And started off a little goofy on the social media, and now he's crushing it. I would say he's. I've got to see that growth in such a short span. But one thing I love about that is that he stuck with it. He didn't care how he looked or if he fell on his face. He's just sticking with it. And a lot of things with sales, like just sticking with it, you see that growth a lot easier. But that's with anything in life, right? Like if you just stick with it and you're passionate enough about it and you let that drive you, you're going to be successful in that area. I see it so many times. And my buddy yesterday, he was talking about Abe that I interviewed. He was talking about how he didn't even like science. He wasn't good at science, and that's what he does now.
Right.
He does like neuroscience and different styles of nutrition and personal training and all that. And he's even wrote a book that he spent 5 years doing research for, all that. And it's just funny how, like, you find that one thing you're passionate about, then freaking roll with it. You mentioned that earlier. But tell me, what are some of those common threads you see with some of the leaders we've worked with or that you're working with now?
Man, it's funny. The common things that I see that most people probably wouldn't even really talk about is like just they want to be independent. They're smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're smart guys that are like I said, kind of stubborn and hard headed, and they want to do things their way. And there's no right way or wrong way, right? But like people that are driven and that think they can make things better, and like they're just true leaders. And they just want freedom. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is not like there's not like a certain personality trait. I think everybody works hard. But the things that make people like different are people that are willing to take risks, right? These people that are starting businesses, like doing this podcast, man, you're taking a risk. Like I'm taking a risk. These other guys are taking a risk that you have to be willing to take, right? And I think that is the number one component, is like they're okay with failing. Yeah. Like they don't get embarrassed by failing, right? And I think that is the one. If there was a personality trait, like that's what it is like these people don't really care, not in a good way. It's like in a good way, they don't care what other people think or say or do, but they know if they don't take risks now, they're going to look back at their life 10, 15 years from now and say, like, what if I would have done this? Like, where would I be? Because, it's okay to fail. Like, we're at a young enough age to where, like, if you do fail, like, you can go get another job. People aren't going to be like, oh, he's tried to start a company. it failed, I'm not going to hire them. That's not going to happen.
It's the opposite.
Right. It's the opposite. Yeah. And so I think that's really what these people have in common that I know that start companies is they're like, they've done so much and they feel like they're capped out, right? Like there's a certain, in the corporate world, like unless you just stick there forever, you're capped out for, like you get to this level, you're capped for 5 years until this guy like leaves, right? Like, so like you have a 5-year waiting period where you can't grow. And I think these guys that we're talking about want to grow. I think you want to grow. I think that is where you're going to see the difference is like, I'm not okay being stuck here. I want to do this. And if I fail, that's my fault. And I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I think that's where the personality is.
100%. I totally agree with that, man. And that's one thing I can say about everybody I've interviewed, because majority of people are entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial spirits that I've interviewed. And there's people in medicine and people military and all that too that I've interviewed. And that's the one thing I can say is like they're decisive.
Yeah.
Right? They're not just waiting for things to come to them. They're making things happen, and their willingness to take action is super key. Because so what if you fail? You're learning. That's helping you grow, helping you stretch yourself. And also, man, so now we're at a point, mortgages are tough, and we're in that environment where what the heck's going on with rates? Is it going to stay kind of where it's at for a while? Is it going to start coming back down? Because eventually when it starts coming back down, we know there's another boom coming. Right. But right now we're dealing with inflation and all that. So if you were to give everybody this listen and maybe like a little education lesson, it is August of 2023. We've had, a year or two of low or high rates? Yeah. It's after 2 years of super low rates or something like that?
Probably been about a year and a half of pretty high rates, yeah.
So if you were to maybe educate people on the mortgage world real quick, whatever you can say, since you're licensed and stuff, but whatever information you can give out for our audience here that may not know much about mortgages and the economy and the way things work, what would you say about the times now and where they have been?
I think mortgages is funny, right? Like the word mortgage in itself, it just means pay until you die. Like mortuary, mortician, mortgage, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like there's this like, mortgages are not what people like, right? Everybody wants to own a house, right? I love real estate agents have it not easy. They work very hard, but they get to do the fun, the flashy, like I'm getting you a house. And then guess who they have to call right after that? That's us, right? So they have to call us and we're talking about, oh, well, here's what you have to pay to get this house, right? Yeah. So like it's not always the fun part of buying a house, getting a mortgage, right? So I think my advice is like don't be scared of a mortgage. I think like that it's a goal for a lot of people to own a home, but that word mortgage scares a lot of people. I think everybody, if you truly want to create wealth for yourself, should own a home. So if you're renting, call us. We'll figure out a way to get you into a house. We have down payment assistance programs. That's a hurdle for a lot of people is down payment. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people think that like I'm only going to live in this city for a couple years. Like why would I buy? It's an asset. You can always sell it. You can keep it, rent it out. From a rate standpoint, like everybody's hoping, we keep getting that timeline, push back, but rates are going to come down eventually. I wouldn't suggest waiting till rates come down to buy, because as soon as rates come down, everybody's going to get back in the market. House prices are going to skyrocket again. Happened. It's going to be multiple offer situation every single time.
It actually makes it tougher to get the home when the rates go down, because you have more buyers, more people coming into the market, making it more competitive to get it. So that's a good point too, is that a lot of people get nervous and scared by the rate. Yep. But if you can truly afford the payment, then it's a good idea, and that's why the mortgage people, the mortgage professionals are here to help you navigate through your finances and what you can't afford and help the buying process become easy that way. But all of us will tell you that like as long as you can afford it, I mean it's definitely a good idea, especially in certain markets even more so. Right. But no matter where you're at, honestly, that applies. But another thing, man, with the people that are involved in the mortgages right now, what's going to have companies outlast these high rates and what's helping you guys outlast these high rates?
That's a great question, because if you'll read the news anywhere, you'll see these large companies are laying off tons of people and losing millions every quarter when their reports come out. And it's unfortunate because there's just not enough business to go around to keep the support staff that they've had in the past, because we really majority do purchase loans only when we lost a lot of our refinance business because rates are so high. So I think the key, we're lucky, we're a mortgage broker. So a few things for us, we're able to find the best deal for you. We're able to do more difficult loans because we have like private money lenders and special lenders that do certain products that most banks and regular lenders don't do. So there's my little plug.
Well, that's a good point. I want people to know the difference.
Yeah.
So I haven't asked any of my mortgage people yet. Explain the difference between being a broker like yourselves versus what the other avenues are.
Yeah, so when you come to a broker like myself, what we do is we take one application and we say, all right, it's not a one size fits all thing. So we take your application and we shop it to different lenders, and this is extremely high level, but different lenders have different investors. Those investors have specific appetite to fit their portfolio, right? So at the end of the day, if you have a $300,000 loan, some people would really, really want that. And some people are like, we want 200 or below, or we want 500 and above. And so when you go to one lender, you have literally just that lender's pricing.
Right.
So we do the shopping for people as a broker, and we find them the best deal, right? And so that's what makes us different. And then also we can sign up with other lenders to give you the product that you need. So I've had so many deals that I've done for people that were turned down by other banks, whether it's credit scores or income, right? There's so many ways to get turned down, but that's because, and then those people get they get really out of it because they're like, well, they told me I can't, so I'm no longer. Yeah, they get discouraged. They're like, I'm not going to look anymore because they told me I can't. That's not always the case. Sometimes it is. If one person can't do it, nobody can do it. But sometimes there's other options.
Yeah.
And that's our pitch to real estate agents. I know you have somebody that you work with right now, but if they turn somebody down, give me a shot. I'll see if there's anything I can do for them. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is the biggest key, working with a broker. And, because we're a broker as well, we're a lot smaller. We're a lot more flexible. I work 24/7. My phone rings, I pick it up. Right. Whereas lenders, banks, 9 to 5 most of the time. So they're not going to answer after hours. They're not going to answer on the weekends. Our team is always available. If they're not available, if they're out of town, we have backup members to take those calls. It's a lot more personal, I think, to work with a broker, where we pride ourselves in being local and helping the Carolinas a lot. So yeah,
love it. Yeah, so I wanted people to know that working with your bank that you bank with and have your checking account with usually isn't the best way to go about getting your mortgage stuff done. And the reason I say that and can say that is because I'm not the licensed professional he is, but also because when banks have these stipulations that are going on, they might have certain restrictions going on at that time. But then you go to a broker and he has many different banks and many different options. You can probably find you a deal through. So that's what the benefit is and the advantages of going with a company like Tyler's and Motivation, right? So I appreciate you sharing that. I want to make sure people that are listening that aren't as familiar or savvy in that world, make sure they understand the difference, that you don't have to go with whoever your credit cards and bank cards and checking accounts through. You can shop that stuff around.
And I encourage everybody to shop. That's one thing, that don't go with the first name you hear. Call a couple people, call 2 or 3 people, make sure you get a good deal. That's my advice to everybody.
For sure. Now, I want to kind of end this on more of a fun note. We've been kind of serious and having fun already, but on a fun note, man, me and you both love to travel. My man here is engaged. He's got a beautiful fiance that he's excited to get that wedding going with. He was talking about that before we got on.
The pleasures of planning a wedding.
The stresses and the pleasures. Yeah, of course. But But no, just you love to travel as well. I got the map behind me pointed out like, hey man, you been to Finland? I'm like, nah, I got attacked there because I want to go. And but you know, this man was in Iceland, which is a place I want to go. But where does that passion for traveling come from? Why do you do it? And where have you been that's interesting, and where are you going next? I know that's loaded. But.
Yeah. I love I'm not a material person. I don't need a nice car. Like I have a truck that's been paid off for years. I just still drive it. Right. You just learn so much. You get so much life experience. You meet cool people traveling. That's where I love it, man. It's like I want to see the world. We're only here for a short period of time. Like go see everything. Do whatever you can. Like. Find a way to travel because you're going to learn a lot. You're going to experience a lot more cool things. Don't just stay at home. Like that's how I feel. I've learned. I had the pleasure, and I have a really good buddy, Austin, that we took a trip when I decided to start the company. That really like changed my. I've always done some cool trips, right? Like I've always done like all-inclusive resorts, and like that's fun. But I did a backpacking trip for like 2.5 weeks to Costa Rica with my buddy Austin, and like no luxuries, just like staying in hostels. That was the trip of a lifetime, dude. Like when I say that, like
done that, man. Hostels, bro.
Dude, it's such a different experience because like in America we're so blessed to have like the luxuries of like you go to a 5-star hotel or 4-star hotel if they don't have like breakfast in the morning.
Or even
like
2 or 3-star hotels will hook you up, right? But you go to a hostel, they don't even have like hot water. Or something
we don't have air conditioning,
or
right?
AC or whatever. Yeah.
So I like
no towels.
Definitely
no towels.
That trip was a game changer for me, and like it encouraged me to like get out and travel even more. So after doing that, I quit doing more like resort style stays
because you're just there. You're not seeing more of the culture and stuff.
Right. And so now we just went to Hawaii. We stayed in a pretty nice hotel, but it wasn't like all inclusive or anything. And we rented a Jeep and we just drove all over the Big Island. We actually chose to go to the Big Island because it was more deserted. Like there's more. It's more like
Big Island's huge, bro.
Yeah, and we drove There's 2 cities really that you spend time in.
Hilo, right?
Yeah, Hilo and Kona.
Yeah.
So we did both of those cities, and like you're traveling. You're like you can like when you're in a car. You can pull over. You can do whatever you want to do and like get out. Like we went to these cliffs that you're supposed to jump off of. I got so scared. I thought I was the man. I thought I was gonna jump off these cliffs. Saw it, got so scared, didn't do it. But like
where the waves like crashing against the rocks and stuff, and
it's like deserted. Yeah, there's no boats down there to save you. You have to climb up a rusty ladder. So I was like, I'm not doing that. Bro. But I just think like I do trips now for adventure. So like I don't even really like to go places that are just like sit back and like sit on the beach. If you ask me about my next trip, we're going to Finland, which like in the wintertime, which is cool because I went to Iceland, like you mentioned. Beautiful, man. We went in the wintertime to Iceland as well. I think summertime's a completely different experience.
I bet. Yeah.
But everything's frozen and like it's just something I've never experienced before, and I really enjoyed Iceland. So now we're going to Finland. Got to see the Northern Lights, aurora in Iceland. Gonna go chase them in Finland. I'm gonna try to go dog sledding. I'm gonna try to go ice fishing. Like just all the stuff that we can't do in North Carolina, you know.
Yeah.
Just cross things off my bucket list, man. And that's my next trip, and
Love it.
That's gonna be fun. We're doing the coolest thing I think that we're gonna do. Got 2 things. You can swim with manta rays in Hawaii, which is awesome. By the way, at night you go in these little like bay areas and like you just get to swim with manta rays, and they're huge like stingray looking creatures, but they're safe. Like they're not gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
So that was amazing in Hawaii. But we're doing this big ice breaking boat.
What?
It's like you're on a giant ship and it like breaks the ice in Finland.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you get off the boat, you put on these wetsuits, and you go like float in what essentially is like a frozen, like I don't know if it's a lake or a beach or what, but it's something. And it just looks so cool, man. Like something to cross off your bucket list.
Wow.
So,
I can't wait to see that, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, man, I got a passion for traveling, as you know, as well.
Right. You've been everywhere, man.
I post it all over my social, but But I was looking through your social before we did this today, just to like go down back in 2015, 14. Like you said, you did it as like a congratulatory trip kind of thing when you graduated.
Yeah, so
like a graduation trip. But what I want to say though is that Hawaii is probably one of my favorite places in the world. I've been a lot of places, but I'm just a sucker for it, man. To be able to be somewhere where you can do a different hike every morning and hit up a different cool, beautiful beach every day, and then see beautiful weather and sunsets and sunrises every day. There's no place like that I've been.
It's crazy.
And I've been to small places.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What's your favorite place?
What do you mean?
You said Hawaii's your favorite.
I think Hawaii, bro, just because of all the things that I've listed there and the cool people I've met, cool experiences I've had there, and you know, it is isolated though. So if you're in Hawaii,
the time change is crazy.
You're not near anything else. You know, you're stuck in the islands.
Right.
You're not near other countries and stuff like that. It's like its own little world. Now, we're lucky to be in the States, right? You got the national parks and all that. I loved Moab, Utah, but Alaska is another state that I think is just a beautiful and amazing and somewhere anybody should travel.
Right.
Alaska is just same type of thing. If you want beautiful scenery, beautiful nature, and just a cool, different vibe, there's a lot to do there. And a lot to see, and it's much bigger than you would think.
Right. Did you go in the wintertime or summertime?
It was kind of, it was like fall time.
Okay.
Fall time, but it was beautiful. But I don't know, man. When you go to Europe and you're able to see like 10 different countries in, you know, less than a month, or I saw, I think about 15 countries and like 20 something cities in like 2.5 months. So like, if you're somewhere like that where you're able to see so many different cultures, that's unique to me too.
Right.
So to say a favorite is really hard.
It's tough.
You know.
Every place has their like perks and their downs, pros and cons, you know.
And there's places I've been that I still want to explore more parts of it.
Right.
Like Portugal, I want to do more of Portugal, want to do more of Spain, stuff like that. But you know, I mean, it's time and money, bro. Like if you can figure out a way to make time and money work for you. And do it.
I'm playing the Powerball and all that. Just
I mean,
it's 1.25 billion right now. So.
Really?
Yeah. What is it?
Nobody's won it?
No, nobody won. It's the Mega Millions right now. So I bought a ticket yesterday.
Ridiculous.
They're drawing tonight. So if I don't talk to you guys again, you know what happened.
I'll be your best friend. But nah, man, I just want to say thank you for today. I mean, this meant a lot, and you shared a lot of good quality information. Maybe listen to, is there anything else that comes to mind that would be good for the audience and from your experiences and something you want to just share with them that maybe they don't know about you, or something that might be a motivating factor for somebody out there listening?
I would just say, and like this is something I've come to a realization right now, because it's been tough in our industry, is just make sure you're having fun. Like, no matter what you're doing, like, you can control whether or not you're having a good time. Like, there's going to be bad things that happen, but like, you just got to make sure that you're enjoying life, and whatever you need to do, don't work yourself to death. If you need to take a break, go for a walk, go to the gym, do whatever you got to do to clear your mind. Make sure you're happy, make sure you're taking care of yourself, because there's good times and bad times ahead, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, and just enjoy life. And I think that's the most important piece. You can get caught up and you can get dragged down in the dirt, and it's hard to get back out. But like, if you constantly think about like, make sure I'm having a good time, make sure I'm enjoying this short period of time that we have on this earth, like, I think that's going to take you a long way. And you create like a connection to other people that if you constantly are trying to have a good time, or, you know, it's not all about partying or anything. It's just like constantly make sure you're happy, then other happy people are going to come to you, right? And they surround yourself with those people. Instead, if you're always negative all the time, you're going to have other negative people come to you. So I think that's really like my biggest piece of advice. And I'm constantly telling myself that every day, like, make sure you're having fun. If you're not having fun, you're never going to be successful.
Absolutely. So it's that classic saying Tony Robbins has. It's like, where energy goes, energy flows,
right.
Or vice versa. Where energy flows, energy goes. Whatever the case may be, right? But that's awesome, man. Because I think that's a big thing we get away from. We need to stay true to ourselves and listen to ourselves. But we also need to realize that life is meant to be enjoyed And there's free, and Abe I interviewed with yesterday, another great point I want to bring up. There's so much free stuff around you that you can appreciate and be thankful for and have gratitude for. So enjoy that free stuff. Embrace the stuff that's free and those around you and the different things around you, and get out with nature, whatever the case may be. It's right there. But yeah, man, love this today. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man.
How can they find you and your team, and where can they look you up or ask you any questions?
We're Motivation Mortgage on everything. So Facebook, Motivation Mortgage, Instagram, Motivation Mortgage, motivationmortgage.com. You can follow us on all of that. We have, I think we have a TikTok. We don't use it. We need to get better at that. Trying to keep up with the times. But any social media, Motivation Mortgage. Feel free to reach out. All of our contact information is on the website. You'll see our loan officers. You'll see me. But yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with us, and we'd love to help anybody that's looking to buy a house, refinance, just has any general questions about the mortgage world at all. Happy to help.
And I know you guys listening got something out of this, so please follow, share, like, subscribe, give Tyler a shout out, leave any comments or messages for us, and we'd love to chat with you at some point. But thanks again, man.
Yeah, man. Proud of you, man. Thank you.
Proud of you. Thank you.
Have a good one.
I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Your work shouldn't feel like work if you really love it. If you set and you know your worth, then think if it's worth it. But I do count my blessings first, so you know I'm grateful every night. But watch me, baby, I'ma take it there. Tell ya I'ma stay the path. Tell ya I've been chasing all these dreams, I'm getting very close. Here we go.